we go. Welcome to the episode 1 of the Purist Podcast. I'm Mike Johnson, aka From Amongst the Trees.
Unfortunately, I'm Rev. You know what I'm saying? That's the name that's kind of stuck. So I'm Rev, and this is the Purist Podcast. We're part of the LiTHoUSe family, and hoping we can give you guys something new. You know what I'm saying?
Kind of rundown for today. We're going to talk about the state of the Hornets, where they're at, where they're going. Now a lot of people are talking about the Hornets right now, and there's a lot of misconceptions out there. And so I think you have to start from the top with LaMelo. They gave him the brand new contract, Supermax contract, and had a shaky couple 3 or 4 games to start, but since then he's been on a tear. So what have you seen since he's turning around, and what do you think sparked it?
I think one, he became comfortable with the new hardware in his body. You know what I'm saying? The screws, the nuts, the bolts that are keeping the ankle fused temporarily. I think he became comfortable on. All great players make adjustments. You know what I'm saying? They adjust to game plans, they adjust to runs, they adjust to momentum, and they also adjust to injuries. Kevin Durant is not the same guy that he was when he came in the league, but he has adjusted 2 years or 3 years now removed from that Achilles rupture. And now we're starting to see Kevin Durant be the guy that he was. I think in those first 5 games, LaMelo, it was a mix of things. I think it was partially he was adjusting to how to play with that injury or that healing injury. And also, I feel like what the Hornets were trying to do, they were trying to run this complex, pin-down, forward-based offense after just giving him $260 million. And I feel like he was spending too much time processing, making the right play versus just going out there and playing. And as you've alluded to, Mike, bro, to be real with you, I think that Tyrese Halliburton game, he saw something when he was playing Tyrese. He saw how easily Tyrese Halliburton has been able to manipulate defenses through that pick and roll drop coverage. And I think since he saw that, he's been on a tear.
Is that a LaMelo thing, or is that a Coach Clifford thing? Because I think you're kind of hitting on there, because I was frustrated with him in those first few games, because I'm just like, why is he not attacking? It's like he is focused on trying to like run some type of play to get someone else the ball, and I'm like, what are we doing here? I thought you drafted Brandon Miller and you gave him his contract because you're about to build it around him, and then I'm watching him just run plays for PJ and run plays for Gordon. I'm like, what? It didn't make sense to me. And so I'm like, is that the play calling, or is that just LaMelo just trying to get other guys involved? I couldn't tell. That was concerning to me. Because I couldn't tell where that was coming from.
Well, I mean, for the new audience, you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying it's like bragging and nothing like that, but you guys got to get to know us and our credentials, I guess. I covered the Charlotte Hornets for 3 years consecutively. Covered the Greensboro Swarm in official capacity for 2 years, and Atlanta Hawks for 2 years. And one of the things that stood out when I was covering the Greensboro Swarm 2 years ago was me and another podcaster named DKM. We met with the head coach at the time of the Greensboro Swarm, Jordan Surenkamp. And when we met with him, we asked him a direct question about the rotations, because the rotations have always been funky. Like, let's keep it a buck. You know what I'm saying? They've always been funky, no doubt, right? Ever since LaMelo got there. And we all wondered, was this a Borrego thing? Was this a, gaslighting LaMelo thing? But Jordan Surenkamp told us straight up to our face, no. Me and head coach James Borrego, every Monday morning, we have to have a conference call with Mitch Kupchak. And Mitch Kupchak sets the rotations, especially for the young guys. All of these things, other than maybe prehistoric sets that Steve Clifford is being blamed for, this is Mitch Kupchak. And it's an old Lakers tactic. This is what the Lakers used to do. Whenever they wanted to move a guy, if you look under Mitch Kupchak's tenure or 20-year, you know what I'm saying, with the Los Angeles Lakers, he would always feature guys at the beginning of the season. He would feature guys to try to run up the bag or run up the price for the guy that he really wanted on the trade machine. And that tactic is outdated. Like you're not fooling anybody in the NBA with Gordon Hayward. And I said at the beginning of the season, if you run with that tactic and you try to do that, what you're going to really expose is the fact that other teams might start to look at it like, how much do we really need that guy? The last thing I'll say before I pass it right back to you, Mike, I was watching Paul Pierce and KG today, and they were talking about how the league is going through something it's never gone through, which is younger teams are better faster. And those younger teams look around and say, why do we need these older guys? And they were talking about stars. So it's going to be hard for anybody to sell me on the idea now that Gordon has been shown to the world that anyone's given up anything close to respectable for Gordon Hayward. I just don't see it. And I think they overplayed their hand. He should have been coming off the bench the whole time.
Man, it's hard to argue with that.
It's ugly, man.
It's ugly. It's ugly. Like I was on the train of, because I'm like, what do you have to lose?
Right.
I'm a kick the tire, see is there anything left in this tank that can I shine it up a little bit, get him hot, and then shut him down or something, right?
What is going on? Why does he look so bad? Like basic three balls look weird. You know what I'm saying? Coming off a curl looks weird. What is going on?
He lost a step.
Yeah.
Like there's a
steps.
when you every game or every practice, you don't really know what your body can and can't do. It starts to mess with your mind a bit. So while you're playing, you're thinking about the things movements that can I do that today? I don't know if my knees feel like that or what. And so you start playing limited. And so you even saw it yesterday where he had those two dunks, and it was almost like a relief that he just one got something to go in, but two, it was just like a normal natural movement for him. But if you throw anything at him and make him break his stride or make a secondary movement right now, he can't do that because he's just old.
Right.
And so that's why he's so uncomfortable, and he can't even shoot. Like all he can get is like turnaround because he can't really get no separation from people. So if he can't push off and use his strength, he can't really score right now. And I mean, what is he? He's taking like 13, 14 shots right now,
and hitting
he's shooting horrible.
27% from the field, bro. He is shooting 27% from the field, and like something dastardly from three. I want to say like in the last 3 or 4 games, he's shooting like 11% from three. Like it's dastardly, bro.
That feels low. That feels low.
Scoot Henderson vibes, right, from the 3-point line.
When I saw yesterday, it was 33%, but I don't know if they factored in the last game.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about it, man, to be honest, and you heard it here first on the Purist Podcast. I'm going to call it before anyone else. Gordon Hayward's going to tap out. He's going to tap out because I saw a play yesterday in the 3rd or 4th quarter where it was to add to what Mike is saying and to 100% validate it as proof. It was a simple come off a curl, extend and lay the ball up. And he ran back down the court. No, dunk. He dunked it the second time. He ran back down the court, grimacing like somebody shot him in the Achilles, man. And when I saw that, I said, this man is going to tap out. Because now expectations are rising. You got young guys like LaMelo's not a puppy anymore. Like the thing that Steve Clifford said this summer that is starting to be true, LaMelo is starting to become a vocal leader. So now when I've studied film, I'm seeing more and more times where he's waving Miles off. Like Miles wants the ball on the wing, and LaMelo's not like, no, go through. Like he's in the huddle screaming and he's directing guys. So now you already got a fiery personality in LaMelo, enigmatic. You got Miles, who's the unquestioned bulldog leader of the team, right? And you got Brandon Miller, a rookie that's not afraid to go in press conferences and say, yeah, this team is lacking effort. He'll scream at you on the court and say, let's go. That pressure is going to bust that pipe. And if Gordon wants any chance to play on a contender anytime soon, he has to know, I can't keep putting this kind of stuff on tape.
Well, we are reaching some type of boiling point because, like, the players on the team understand the current dynamics. They understand who's killing the practice, who's actually killing the games. Whereas people on the outside you don't always know that. You always don't see that type of stuff, right? But the players understand that. And they also understand, like, the politics. They understand why someone's playing, someone's not playing, right? Yeah. And players will tolerate that within reason. But at a certain point, when it starts to become so egregious, and to the point to where the players just don't believe in the coach anymore. Because it's like, man, I can't respect you anymore. Like, this dude is cooked. This dude is like holding other people back. Because other things that people want to win, right? And there was a moment in the fourth quarter, and I remember it was the exact moment I felt it, where I was like, man, this lineup is working right now. This is cooking right now. And I was like, who's missing? And as soon as I said that, because McGowan's was playing. I think that's why I noticed. I said McGowan's. I was like, I kind of like what he's doing right now, right? Yeah, and I was like, who's not playing? And as soon as I said that, Gordon was at the scorer's table checking, and I was like, man. And that's when I was like, I can't deny it anymore. I was like, this dude is really like, he's like a spoke in the wheels right now. I mean, he's like a stick in the wheels right now, where he just clogs things so much up. And it's not even the fact that they are running so much action for him, but it's like they're trying to force it, and it doesn't fit with anybody else. And so everything he does, it takes from the flow. And then as soon as you remove him and just have someone like McGowan, who right now is focused on his playing his role, and when he does it, you're like, oh man, like the team makes sense again all of a sudden.
Right. And it's fruitless action. You know what I'm saying? Like, if it's a couple of times he coming down, white boy bang bang three, the quintessential white shooter, you know what I mean? You can live with it because you're like, at least you're gonna hit the three ball. It's to the point where his three ball is falling off a cliff. And I want to go back to something you said, because you can put real life perspective of what you're saying about the team getting to the point, okay, like, we just don't trust what's going on here anymore. You mean like PJ getting benched and he on the bench looking and saying, okay, now, I don't mind sitting down for Miles Bridges, but it's a whole nother thing when I'm sitting on the sideline having a big game off the bench against the Boston Celtics and Gordon Hayward continuously being a liability. You know what I'm saying? Because these guys are around the same age. Miles, LaMelo, PJ, like, all of these guys are around the same age. So that's when the conversation started up. Like, man, if we were out there, we were running. If we were out there, we would be effective. And that's how I said the same thing with James Borrego. That's how coaches really get fired. That's how they get fired. The groups start to form in the locker rooms. Somebody gets the snuff to say, hey, I'm going to talk to the front office. And the next thing you know, the interim coach, Coach Marvin, is out there coaching. I mean, something's got to happen, man. Something has to happen.
You know what's funny about that is that already happened with Gordon back in Boston, where they brought him in. He signed there to be the guy. He was going to be the franchise guy. He got hurt right away. It wasn't his fault. But then when he was hurt, and then when Kyrie was hurt, in stepped Tatum and Brown. They stepped that gap and they balled out. Right, and they had immediate success, and it worked. And so did Terry Rozier. Like, everyone's like, "Whoa, what happened to this team right here?" So then, if you remember back then, that time, people didn't think that Brown and Tatum were really those guys yet. Like, they were just like future prospects, but they're like, the idea that Kyrie and Gordon should just get their spot right back right away was like an automatic thing. And I was at the time saying, like, man, you can't do that, because those dudes knew what they just did that past year, and they did it in the playoffs. So you can't gaslight them that they aren't ready. They already seen it and they shown it. And for them to come in, they're gonna be hungry coming in that year. And to have players that come in hungry, and then day one they realize that they are behind the glass ceiling where, oh, you just gave my spot back to this dude who coming back from a long injury, like not even like a competition for it, like that kills the locker rooms. And you can't bring that back because it's so unnatural. Once people understand that no matter what I do, decisions are already made, it's hopeless. You don't have a team at that point. So you can't force it that much unless you're like, this guy is more important than anything else we got going. And Can you really say that about Gordon?
No chance. No chance. We could build upon that a little bit more when we get to that Brandon Miller topic that you got fishing, because I can make a case that we are in very fragile footing when it comes to what Brandon Miller can be in the next 2 or 3 years. If the Hornets don't develop this kid right, I know he's already good, but we'll get to that in a minute. Back to what you were saying about LaMelo. I want to pull it back to that. And the reason why I want to pull it back to that, if any other name in the league was doing what he's done the last 8 games, anyone, doesn't matter, what would they be saying about this kid? Keep it a buck. Like dare to be courageous. Just keep it a buck with me.
Oh no, I think you see it in how they talk about Halliburton.
I don't know. I gotta disagree because we saw a lineup in the fourth quarter when they were down 14, starting off of JT Thor, Bryce McGowan, and Ish Smith. I don't think we can quite quantify in today's league what he's really doing. Because once again, this was a team that was picked to finish last in the East. Matter of fact, a lot of people had them picked, writers had them picked to be the last team in the league. And I was looking at the Eastern Conference standing. They really have a shot right now at the 10th seed. Brooklyn is missing a lot of pieces. Those pieces are not going to be back for the next 2 to 3 weeks. Okay, they got a rough schedule. Toronto's is fake as a watch from Buford Highway in Atlanta. If you know, you know. You know what I'm saying? They're trying to clear out that team. I think they're going to end up being the 10th seed or the 9th seed. And to pull that off after the way that this season started, I mean, the Hornets, man, like what LaMelo is doing with lack of free throw attempts, bro, you know, we talk basketball all the time, you know, and LeBron is one of my guys. But LeBron has always got to the free throw line at least on a medium grade scale. Mm-hmm. LaMelo is not really touching the free throw line. And he's pulling off fourth quarter comebacks with 4 minutes in the fourth quarter with a court with JT Thor, Ish Smith, who everyone knows is not going to shoot a three, and a young Bryce McGowan. Like, bro, this is insane. It's insane, bro. And I just feel like if any other player was, if Tyrese was doing that on the Charlotte Hornets, they would be saying that Tyrese is potentially a top 5 player in basketball on the Charlotte Hornets.
Man, it's funny because like we've really come full circle to where people were high on LaMelo in middle school because he had the first initial buzz and flash, and then they gave up on it, right?
Right.
And then for the people, they stopped looking what he was doing because he was in Lithuania. So really, people just stopped paying attention, except for like the circus, like Ball in the Family stuff that people would see. But like as far as basketball wise, he was in the Russian gulag for all we cared, man. But then like once he went back to high school, back to Spire, that's when I started paying attention. I was like, wait a minute. I was like, there's something going on right here. Right. But again, people weren't watching. So that at that point, LaMelo, the narrative is just what took off, that people just this idea of who they think he is. And it's like the foundational problem that we see right now is people are not watching what's actually happening. They're only looking to like further their narratives, and they do that by just looking at box score stuff, man. And it was the case when he was in Australia, where people were so focused on trying to discredit and poke holes in him that they totally discounted the value of the league in Australia. That now people see, oh man, it's actually a really good league, right? That he was balling in, but they would like laser focus on just whatever stat will confirm their narrative. And so if it was the shooting thing, it was boom, that's it, right? And they're literally talking about a 12-game sample size. That's what that's the stat that they were focused on for 3-point percentage, right? And that was the only thing they wanted to talk about. They would not talk about anything else. They wouldn't talk about any context. They wouldn't talk about how he's scoring, what he's struggling at. It was just that stat, and it was the end of it. And it's a deeper conversation, but I think it's what killed that draft class. Why people said it was so down, and now you look at that draft class for guards, they had heat, but it was so down because if you're so bent on discrediting LaMelo, and then any argument you make for him, you can apply it to Tyrese, you can apply it to Anthony Edwards. Like all you could say is like, oh well, it's just a bad draft. It's just a bad draft, right? And so it just made everybody devalue everything. And that draft class had heat in it, right? Like there's supermax from Halliburton and LaMelo. Those are all supermax right there. Desmond Bane, max.
Tyrese Maxey is going to be an unrestricted free agent this summer, bro.
He's about to be a max. Darren Vassell, like he's cooking. Like there was heat in that draft class, but like it was so downgraded because of that hatred for LaMelo. And we've come full circle again to where this dude is cooking again. Like it's here, but you have to watch it. And now people are focused on stuff like turnovers. Like, man, he has a turnover problem, right? And it's like, I don't understand what people are watching. If you watch that game and you come away with, man, that dude had 4 turnovers, man. Like, what are we looking at here? But like it's almost like it's a battle between good and evil, and and we call it the Purist Podcast because like we're talking about like the purity of the game right here. Like, are we watching the game or are we watching box scores right now?
And the hypocrisy is that the same person that will say that will tout Luka Doncic, who is a career 3+ turnover a game guy. Like Luka right now, 3.4. You know what I'm saying? And do I get on Luka for that? I don't care. It's like a great quarterback, bro. Like if you're throwing the ball downfield, you're gonna take chances. And if you take chances, you're gonna have turnovers. Also, you have to look at that and say, okay, who is this guy playing with? Bro, the Charlotte Hornets, and it really hit me last night. And I'm a big Miles Bridges guy. You know what I'm saying? I've been a Miles Bridges guy since the Michigan State Spartans. But I had to admit it last night because I saw a glimpse of it in the Boston Celtics game. When LaMelo is not on the court with those guys, even with Brandon Miller, as great as he's going to be, and Miles Bridges, as much of a force as he is right now, there is just no continuity in the offense. It's like a great body with no spirit. You know what I mean? Like, that's what it is. And it's times when Brandon Miller and Miles are out there, they're just like, okay, what do we do now? So Miles will just dribble. Okay, step back 3. You know what I mean? And Brandon Miller's not aggressive enough right now to say, okay, I can do a lot of the things that LaMelo can do. I can facilitate. Me and Miles can play 2-man off each other. Like he's not empowered to that point to know to do that right now because, the Gordon Hayward problem. So when LaMelo is not out there with these, it's almost like you can't really sit LaMelo. And if you look at Steve Clifford's rotations, like people are just looking at him on the surface because they're used to seeing what he did at the beginning of the season. He still comes out of the game at the same times, but they're for shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter time spans. He'll come out the game at 3 minutes in the first quarter, and he's back in the game at 2:20. He came out the game in the second half at like 6 minutes in the third quarter, came back in the game at the 3-minute mark, And he had to keep him in the game for the rest of the game. Bro, when you get to talking about that and games are competitive and the wins start piling up, you have to start looking inside the numbers and checking and saying, okay, is this a 34 that is contributing to this team being better? Did I need all 31 shots from LaMelo last night? Absolutely. Because without it, they lose that game probably by 15 or 17 points. That's the reality. So anybody that's harping on these small things is getting to the point where at first, after that Luka game, it was, okay, LaMelo just did that to Luka and Kyrie. The next week it was like, okay, he's on a heater, but they're losing. They're losing. Now it's starting to be like, LaMelo. And it's after last night, it's a scream on all of the basketball platforms on Twitter. Bleacher Report, House of Hoops, whatever it is, people are like, okay, LaMelo's the real deal, bro. So now society is always late when it comes to the Wizard of Oz theory. The voice comes down from the Emerald Tower, and then once the voice comes down, the masses go with it. That's just the reality. The narrative is about to switch. Now it's going to be who's better, Anthony Edwards, LaMelo, and Tyrese Halliburton, which is going to elevate that class again. But the deeper conversation with this, Mike, are these three guards, including LaMelo Ball, forget young guards, are these guys the best three guards in basketball right now, or at least top 10? I keep searching for names, and I'm coming up short. Of course, Luka. Of course, Steph. Shy.
Yeah, those three are a different tier right now.
Yeah. It gets spooky.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, we are here now. It's time to recalibrate what you expect of these people. These are all Supermax players. This is what is expected of them, right? They're delivering what's expected of them, right? So we judge on that standard, and that's why, I want to focus on reframing this conversation, because we're done with the box score watching. We're done, arguing about pennies and dimes right now. Like, what are we talking about? We're talking about big money right now, and you want to focus on some crumbs right now. Like, come on, man. Like, it's like, when we talk business, and you want to talk office spending, something like that. Like, what are we talking about right now?
But you got to cut up some slack though, because you got to understand a lot of people consume what they know from these podcasts, and we're the only ones out there, the purists. We're the only ones out there that are really breaking the game down to the level of, okay, forget the narratives. Let's just cut it down to the purest, for lack of a better term, cocaine. You know what I'm saying? Let's cut it down to the purest, right? And at its purest, you have a guy over the last 8 games that has scored 25 plus, shooting 45% from the field in the last 8 games. 43.1% from the three-point line and 87% from the free throw line. Give me 5 turnovers with numbers like that, bro, because then you start to say, okay, once again, it always goes back to this argument. Who is he doing this with? What are the results of these games? What have you done for me lately? What is your best win? I watched the game Monday night, Mike, where definitely LaMelo looked like a much better player than Jaylen Brown. And Jaylen Brown's my guy. Like, there was a point in that game where I was looking and saying, Jaylen, it's just too much that you just can't do. And now this is becoming a mano-a-mano matchup between Jason Tatum and LaMelo. Like, in that fourth quarter, Jason Tatum's elevator started to come down, and for the first time on like a superstar level where LaMelo is the focus of this game, LaMelo started to just pull things out that even Jason Tatum doesn't have in his bag, bro. And that's the ability to facilitate. That's the ability to direct the offense, control the momentum of the offensive flow. And when it's time to go get a bucket, which has been the biggest critique against him since he came in the league, Can you go get a bucket when the best defender, the best perimeter guard defender in basketball is checking you? Do you have that dog? And he went and made that play and sent it into overtime. And right now, I think the reaction that we're seeing is, one, a bunch of journalists that don't want to admit they're wrong. And second off, it's like the echo effect. Like, did that really just happen? Like, is this real? That's where I think we're at, Mike.
I saw it, like it clicked for me in that Boston game when I saw it through Tatum, because Tatum was cooking.
Mm-hmm.
But it started to bother me, him shooting free throws, because of just how it's perfect. It's so mechanical and robotic, and it just boom, and every time, right? And if the way that like these writers and these podcasters, the way they view the game is they view it as they're looking at the team as a system, and they're looking at players and their ability to execute within that system, and that is how they view is just as a good player. So that's why someone like Kawhi or something like that, who's like a stats monster, he's super efficient, right? Because he's just boom, 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 boom. But there's no soul in this game. It's just he's just executing. Right. And that's good. And that's what being professional is about. Right. So I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Right. But when you're talking about like for someone like me, like I like watching the sport. I like watching the artistry. I like seeing players trying to figure things out. I like watching fights. Like I like seeing people interact and throw things at each other and try to figure out on the fly. I don't like chess matches where it's just about the people are just pawns and just doing X, Y, and Z. Like that, to me, that's boring. And so for someone like LaMelo, he's not someone who's just going to execute like that, and that it can be frustrating. But you can see he's almost like, not almost like he gets bored out there sometimes. Right. And you're seeing it right now where I don't think he's not even firing all cylinders yet. But he's starting to get really confident again to where he's messing around again. That spin move he had where he spin, went baseline and threw between two people, and Miles kind of bobbled it right there.
Right.
He's about to start embarrassing people. Like it's getting to that point. I'm seeing it in players' eyes. Like I saw it in DiVincenzo's eyes, especially in that second game, where you can just tell where they're nervous because there's no easy out anymore. And then you don't know what he's going to do, and you don't even know because he won't even run the system. So, anyways, like when you watch, so you have to watch LaMelo to see what he's doing. That he's not just executing right there. He's creating, he's capitalizing, he's reading, and you have to be watching that to appreciate that. And if you're not watching that, what do you have to do? You have to run to the box score to see is he still shooting good? Dang, okay, his shots are great. He's got an assist. Okay, he has an assist right there. Turnovers. Oh, boom, he has bad turnovers. I can harp on that right there because that doesn't require you to actually watch the game. But when you're watching the game, you just watch a superstar who, honestly, by his standards, it wasn't a good game for him by his standards. And the dude had 34. And I'm not saying good game. I'm talking about just like efficiency stuff. Like he tricked off 3 layups that he easily could have made if he wasn't getting bored. Like this kind of stuff on there. And then like honestly, I'd say at least 5 of his layups that he missed, either right away he put back in or someone else put back in. And so, and if you care about watching the game, those weren't bad misses. Those weren't negative to the flow of the offense type deal, right? But if you're only watching the game or you're not watching the game just to prove a point, just to see like I'm looking for ways for him to like mess up or things I can criticize him for, you can laser focus on that stuff. But if anyone who actually takes like a step back and just listen to what we're watching, it's like, what are we doing here? Why am I not just enjoying this dude who's creating? And I am starting to see what you're talking about. I'm starting to see people start to acknowledge that he's passing it to JT Thor. You know, he's passing it to Bryson McGowan is like he's not doing a lot. He's doing a lot with a little right now.
What he did in that fourth quarter of the Wizards game, when he realized, because, okay, so I'm going to get technical and then I'm going to get poetic. And this is the beauty of the Purist Podcast and what we're trying to do here. From a technical aspect, the reason why LaMelo is better is because he's made up his mind. He's going to the rack no matter what you do. If you call the foul, if you don't call the foul. The majority of his misses, I'm going to be fair, the majority of his misses are really because he's getting fouled and he's not getting a call. So he's fighting through contact and he's throwing something up there because he's trying to rip through. Because that's what the NBA refs told him to do a summer ago when him and his manager contacted the NBA League's office to try to see what to do. And one of the things they told him to do was to rip through and fight through contact. He's doing that. He's not getting a whistle. But what do you do at that point? What would old LaMelo do? Old LaMelo would have stayed out there at the three-point line, and if that three ain't falling, he's either going to keep shooting or he's going to become passive, and his scoring impact is going to go down. Not last night. Last night, Boston was the most impressive game I've seen him play probably since Dallas, though. Dallas was impressive as well. But those two are the most impressive games I've seen him play as a pro. But I was even more impressed from a technical aspect because I saw what the Washington Wizards were doing. In the first matchup of the season against the Washington Wizards, go back and look. LaMelo activated, I'm going to the rack. Y'all are too little, right? He even had a post-up in that game against Tyus Jones where he put him in the glass. So the Washington Wizards head coach did a wonderful job and made the adjustment. Hey, he's still slight in frame. We're going to get physical with him. He doesn't get a lot of calls. So every time he goes to the rack, we're going to hand check. We're going to hand check. We're going to push him off his spot, and we're going to make him earn it. And hopefully he's going to fold. That's not what happened. LaMelo would miss 2 or 3 possessions later. He's coming right back down, shooting the floater, coming right back down, getting to the rack. And in the second half, he missed like 3 or 4 consecutive layups or shots close to the rim. And when they needed a bucket, he said, okay, you're not going to make the call. I'm going to initiate the contact. And I think he had Tyus Jones on him again, playing that sticky defense, hand checking. And this is the technical adjustment. He put his shoulder into Tyus. And literally, yeah, it could have been called an offensive foul. But, hey, if you're not calling it this way, it's going to look strange if you're calling it that way. Pushed off, made a left-hand layup, came back down, hit 2 consecutive 3 balls. That's superstar material. Because now the adjustment that the coach has made, the opposing team is like, okay, we're doing what you're telling us to do. You know, that's not working. We can't stay in front of them. So our only option is to push him to help or hand check. If he's stopping on a dime and hitting that 3, we're dead in the water. He started missing that 3 because he realized his legs were gone. So now what does he do? Okay, I got to activate and get these guys involved. For the next 3 or 4 possessions, he's coming down the court, manipulating the defense like he's going to lay the ball up. He makes that pass to Bryce McGowan, which was a 3 ball, comes back down, catches the defense sleeping, throws a rifle on the left side of the court around Corey Crispers. Oh, I can't remember his name. His head. It whizzes by his head to a wide open JT Thor, to a Gafford that's trying to gather, and makes JT Thor a poster on Gafford, right? Comes down after that, dishes it to Mark Williams. Now you're just seeing, okay, this guy has the potential to be like Luka is in a lot of games. The ultimate weapon from a poetic standpoint, though. That was from a basketball technical standpoint. Right?
Hey, hold on, I gotta jump in there because that play where he threw the lob to Mark. That was like, I got goosebumps, man, because that was earlier in that play, it was going nowhere.
Right.
He was going nowhere. He passed it and then got it back to reset and got people spaced out. He had Jordan Poole on him, ISO'd him real quick, gave him a quick hezzy, blew past him, threw the lob, it was boom, right? And I was like, man, that is pure hoop right there. That is a dude who he's just hooping. You didn't have to draw nothing up. He saw what was going on. He got the spacing going on, and he made Mark a weapon, right? Like someone like Mark is not. He's not a factor unless you have a guard who can feed him stuff like that, right? That's LaMelo making things happen. And when you're watching those games, like, you don't have to even look at the box score. You don't have to look at the assists and numbers. You can just see the impact he's making. And that play, to me, it encapsulated that. But go ahead.
From a poetic standpoint, if you're an analytics guy, if you're a person that looks at Tyrese, you look at these other guys that are more pragmatic in their game. Tyrese, I got to say this real quick. He's just the smartest guy on the court.
Yep.
And he's opportunistic. But for the last 3 nights that he's played, teams have figured it out. Okay, we'll let him do all that. You're open. We're going to shut down everybody else. Shoot it. But on the last possession of the game, we're going to get up under you, and we know you can't create, and you're going to cough it up. And he keeps doing it. Because that right there, you can't develop. I'm telling you, as a guard, if you don't have that in your teams, you're never going to get the natural ability without the NBA, a system in the NBA on a good team helping to free you up. The problem with Tyrese, he's not a 2. With a 2 or a 3, you can do that. Those are scores. But with a guy that's walking the ball up and all the eyes and attention are on you, that's just something special. Flashback to LaMelo. If you're an analytics guy and you love the numbers, let's think about the matrix. Everyone else is in green. LaMelo's that guy that sees in gold. Because what Mike's just talking about, I know exactly the play. The other play that I'll point out to is when they had him double teamed on the baseline, Mike, they had shallow help on that right corner. Gafford was right there. And he goes between his legs, spins baseline, which is a no-no, and finds a wide open Miles Bridges. With the pass that would go crazy, Miles is like, yo, it's there. You know what I'm saying? He fumbles it. The play is so open because no one saw it coming. He has time to fumble it and lay it up and not get touched.
That'd been a windmill hit and fumble it.
Bro, that's the kind of stuff that we're starting to see game after game in winning time. Flashback to the Boston Celtics. They're dead in the water. Jaylen Brown in overtime. They're getting into their sets. Systematic basketball for Boston. They're getting into their sets. They get Jaylen Brown an easy floater because he's having a hard time getting going. LaMelo comes down the court. There's no offense being run. He calls for the pick. He knows that Drew Holiday is a very aggressive defender. What does he do? He manipulates his weight, goes behind his back. Peyton Pritchard steps up as the next man up, dices him up, gets to the rack, left hand layup over a 7-3 Kristaps Porzingis when you have to have that because now Boston is executing in overtime. And what your team lacks in experience and effort when it comes to execution, and Boston clearly has an edge, LaMelo gives you that goal guy, that Neo, where, okay, we don't have anything else. And that's why I'm going to say this, Mike. I'm going to throw it to you, and this is involving LaMelo. These are the years where you need Steve Clifford. I don't want them to get a coach that is a Quinn Snyder. I don't want a technician. I don't want a coach that is, we're running these sets and we are going to – no, these are not the years. For stars in these years, for superstars, they need to have a coach that says, it's on you. Figure it out. I believe in you. I empower you. James Harden's first 3 years in Houston, that's what it was. For all of these guys, Kyrie's first 2 years in Cleveland, that's what it was. Luka, roll the ball out, trade anybody, Dennis Smith Jr., who's not with the play, and let this guy be great. Because once we start to feed him the system and get players in there that can help him win now, in case of emergency, we can crack that glass and let him be special. What do you think?
You know what's funny is he's ticking all the boxes of things that people claim that they want.
Yeah.
In terms of like being an underdog, in terms of always fighting, diving on the floor, being passionate, like it's all there. People just aren't paying attention to it. And there was a moment in the Boston game where when he dove on Jason Tatum, right?
Yeah.
And when he did that, you could tell he was just trying to dive in Tatum. He didn't really care about the ball. He just wanted to because he's going at him. And that's when I watched it, and I was kind of like, okay, he's focused right now. He's going after people right now. He has a point to prove. Like he had a chip on his shoulder at that point, right? Yeah. And then you look at someone like Tatum, and he's just a consummate professional. It's just another game to him type deal, right? And it's funny because vocally, on social media, people will claim that they value the passion and the person put it all on the line like that, right? But then in their words, they will only praise the cold-blooded professional who's just rigidly efficient, and they don't care about that 3 of the turnovers was because the dude was trying to turn water into wine, or he was diving on the floor trying to make something happen. You know what I'm saying? Like the stuff that you guys claim that you want, the heart and soul stuff, he's doing that, but you're actually dinging him for that because of the stuff you're looking at. But the narrative is shifting. People are starting to wake up, and it's sad because this isn't even Halliburton's fault, but they're shoving him down people's throats right now. And it's almost like they're dukifying him right now. They're making him a dookie, where it's like, why do I? Because I'm like, how come I don't like this guy right now? And then I watch him like I like this guy, but then when I hear people talk about him, I don't like this guy, right? And it's because I don't like the person they're talking about because it's not real. Like they're trying to craft this like Disney image. Like I even saw some tweet today that kind of encapsulated it, kind of like no rape allegations, doesn't beat his wife, gives money to charity, all this type of stuff. And I'm just kind of like, all that stuff has nothing to do with basketball. Right, you're just acting like this is like you're like your cookie cutter guy who doesn't have any turnovers, so you can't make any arguments about this guy, right? Because he's highly efficient, he shoots when he's open, he passes when other people are open, and he's uncontroversial. And I'm just like, that's not fun. Like I don't like that. And I think fans, they can feel that. And this is why LaMelo is going to be like, he's going to be a tsunami, because it is grassroots right now. It is the people are paying attention, are getting excited about him, and no one's talking about it. So it's all real excitement. The hype isn't even here yet. And it's almost like, and I'm not there that I'm saying this is deliberate. But the NBA is not behind him right now. If they were, he would get more of the whistle. So I'm not saying that there's a directive to not give him the whistle, but if the NBA made a phone call, that changes tomorrow, right? Yes. And if that does change, think about how that changes the discussion we're talking about. Because honestly, this dude be averaging conservatively 38 to 42 points a game over these past 8-9 games right now, if you gave him just a normal whistle. You know what I'm saying? And if that happens, you can't control the conversation of, if you are we're trying to push Tyrese right now. We're trying to focus on him because there has been investment in him coming in from going into the Team USA team. Like, these things don't happen in a vacuum. There was a clear push to elevate him, elevate Edwards, and that's something that the NBA is trying to foster right now. Right. You don't want gate crashers on that. You don't want people asking questions about, well, what's happening over here right now? Why are we talking about this? And like, what's going on over here? So you kind of have to like tamp that down a little bit. But then at the NBA, it's like, oh man, forget it, man. Just give them what they want, right? Start giving them those calls, and then it might be also because of Miles. People are scared to give people too much of what they want. That they're like, yo, no, we're trying to keep on the low right now. But
it's just, even LaMelo's interview last night after the game that went viral. You know what I'm saying? Which I think LaMelo is doing on purpose. He is to the point where he knows this game. He knows what he's doing. You know what I'm saying? I've seen him do it and have an interview like that, and he catches himself. He didn't even blink, because if you're gonna hide me, I know how to go viral. You know what I'm saying? And it's getting to the point. It's like the 10 trials of Hercules. You know what I'm saying? Like, everything is earned, and people respect that. Everything is done the hard way. Going back to his year one, like, he has always had to play on the smallest margins of error. And it's made him a monster. I want to go back to the Jason Tatum thing real quick. I've seen Jason Tatum switch off on Anthony Edwards. I swear to God, this year. I've seen him do that, and Anthony Edwards struggle in the fourth quarter. He got it back together in overtime. I've seen Jason Tatum try to compete. The thing that stood out to me the most, and I say this as a guard, one thing we know is that nobody wants to get crossed over. You know what I'm saying? Nobody wants to get embarrassed. Jason Tatum never switched off on LaMelo that night. And if you look at LaMelo's numbers against the Boston Celtics, you're going to start to realize Jason Tatum has had some great games, but LaMelo has cooked Boston a lot. So those guys in that locker room know. And on a night like that, we're in the back of Jason Tatum's head. He knows he made the comment just a Monday night in Charlotte. You know what I'm saying? He feels that energy that LaMelo's playing with. When you start getting respect from superstars where they like, nah, y'all got him. Drew, this, hey, this why you here. You know what I'm saying? Jalen, this why you here. Like y'all got him. You know what I'm saying? Because if I chase this kid, what am I going to be like on the offensive end? When LaMelo hit that layup to go into overtime, bro, they showed Jason Tatum. And it was just demoralization. You know what I mean? And that goes into him missing that free throw. Like, these NBA players know what is coming, bro. Like, they know what is coming. Kyrie and Dallas switching off on LaMelo in the fourth quarter, saying the things that he said about LaMelo. Like, they know what is coming. This is a tsunami. The only thing that can stop it is injury, because like he said last night, Steve Clifford is using him in a way where the ball is always going to be in his hands. So even on bad nights, I'm really tampering my own expectations. If you give LaMelo 25 shots a night, he's going to score close to 30. That's just the real. So that's why I started to shift from Steph to James, because if you're going to use him this way, he's going to have spectacular nights. To the point reposting his stuff.
What of what he's currently doing,
Mm-hmm.
what looks unsustainable to you?
Shooting the three ball at 44% is crazy. That's crazy. That's just crazy. Like, I'm looking at all these guys doing it, and I'm saying, like, yo, this is fake. Like, Tyrese shooting 45% from the three, or 43 now. That's crazy. But maybe it's because these kids have grown up and the three-point line is their free throw line.
Can I say something crazier?
What?
It feels like he's shooting like 30%.
I know what you're saying. I have felt like that the last 2 years when he shoots. This year, that strap feels real. Like, that's why I privately had the conversation with you, and you said to me, does LaMelo play like Steph Curry?
You know what? I after I said that, I looked at his numbers and I was like, Steph is shooting 45. I was like, that's a difference. That's a big difference right now.
He's shooting 45 now.
I'm just saying.
This is Steph golden form, Steph. You see what I'm saying? Also, if you take out those first 5 games, he's shooting 43, almost 44 from the three in the last 8, bro. So take out the acclimation of those first 5. Take out the 2 threes that he shot in the fourth quarter that were air balls because his leg was gone. Last night, he shoots 8 of 14. I watch a lot of Steph. Steph has a lot of nights. What people don't talk about with Steph, and what they don't talk about with shooters in general, is that the more you shoot, the better your numbers are going to be if you're a shooter.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And Steph has a lot of nights, bro, where he's 5 of 15. He has a lot of nights where he's 4 of 14. But he'll come back the next night and go 8 of 12. And that's how you balance it out. And I think LaMelo's following that formula.
I was just about to say something. Because I guess what I'm thinking is I see a lot of room for growth in his shot. That's the scary thing. I think that's what I'm getting at here. Where I'm like, I'm watching him and he can still get a lot better in the shot prep.
Mhm.
He still needs to get stronger in his base. And so I'm thinking like, man, once he starts doing that, and then too, like he's not really prioritizing it. He's still not taking things that serious. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Like it's almost a bad thing if he's concentrating right now on trying to maximize himself, then you know he's at a ceiling. But right now he's still feeling around, he's still experimenting, and his floor just keeps rising. And so I'm like, I'm looking at his shot and I'm like, man, like, am I just like crazy bias and I'm just plagued by negative thoughts? So I'm thinking he can't shoot, or I'm thinking it's gonna like fall apart or sometimes, or am I really looking at this thinking like, man, like this dude is only gonna get better at shooting as he starts to get more comfortable in understanding the spots he's gonna get to. Because again, right now it's a lot of a feel and he's just on the go figuring out these problems. But every time you figure these problems out, you're like, it goes in your memory now. And next time you face the same problem, the answer is already pre-programmed for you, right? And so as he plays, it's just going to become easier and easier for him. And so it's hard for me to put a cap on the ceiling right now.
I'm going to say something, and I feel like I have the data to back it up. I heard Steve Clifford talk about it. In motion off the dribble. I'm not talking about what Tyrese Halliburton does, which is people are sagging off you, which is another sign that they know. But I'm not talking about standing still. You're dribbling and you shoot a three. On the motion, stop on a dime, 3-point shooting. LaMelo is the second best shooter in basketball. There's only Steph Curry. There's no one else. Bro, there's no one else that does what he does. No one. It's not close. There are 3 or 4 shots that I'm going to send you after this, where he's doing this new thing, and I see him work on it in warm-ups, well, in pregame warm-up, where he comes off the pick, he widens out, gets skinny, one dribble, and pulls up. And he did it twice last night against Washington. He did it a couple times against Boston. That shot where you're coming full speed off a pick, or you're changing pace off a pick, and you're stopping on a dime and shooting a 3-ball is something that when I was playing ball was an absolute no. We were taught to take 2 dribbles, get into the paint 15 foot. That's Steph Curry shot. You see what I'm saying? That is the most difficult shot in basketball, because all your momentum is going in one direction. And LaMelo is the second best guy at doing that. That is the most sustainable play. When he realizes that I can get to that at any time off a pick, and not only can I get to that, I can start manipulating it, which means all I got to do is stop and freeze. And the lane is going to open, because they're already closing out on him. And that's where you're starting to see these weird herky-jerky plays where he's coming off a pick and he looks like he's going to shoot, but he doesn't shoot, because now they are collapsing on him like he's Steph. Like in comparison with Tyrese, when Tyrese comes off picks, those guys are not, they're not fighting over the pick. They're not, I got to stay up on them. So there's a level of reverence for LaMelo's 3-ball that really you only see from the rare shooters in the league. Clay when he was at the top, Steph when he was at the clock. At the top, and now LaMelo. So that's the only part I think is not sustainable, the strap. To go into the rack, I'm starting to agree with you, Mike. Because the NBA is starting to post his highlights every night, that whistle's going to go.
It has to, because you also have, like, the people are behind him now. There's already this grassroots thing behind him, and now he's like a martyr, because now people are seeing this dude going to the rack. I saw some stat. I don't know if it's real. I got to back this up. But they said he's second behind Shea about getting into the rim in the whole league, right?
Probably, yeah.
And I don't think people are realizing that, like, this dude is getting to the rack at will right now, without a system. That is the stuff that's scary. And, like, his ball handling has always been weird to me, because I've never really been that wild about it. because I aired more on it is a lot of flashy stuff, which I enjoy, but it lacked a cutting edge to me for a while. And it almost feel like when he do his little, like, his dribbling moves, it was almost like he was just dazzling. But then he would, like, go to and lay 3 or 4 times, a few crossovers, then he would try something, right? It was all just kind of a show. But now I'm seeing it's like he's not just revving his engines anymore. He's revving them and then dropping the clutch and leaving people right away. Like that crossover he had on Hauser is exactly what I'm talking about, to where normally that's just like 3 or 4 just really weird quick movements, not doing anything. And he just gave one little shift and just blew past it like it was easy. It was all like on command. And players can feel that now, where it's not just you have to pick away a shot, so you press up on him. So it's not he's going to attack the closeout. He can attack the closeout, pull it out, square you up, and then embarrass you again right there, like without even having anything else on there. And that's while you're also worried about where's the screen coming. Like there's too many things in your head as a defender going through you that it's terrifying. And those are the players you do not want to guard, because you can't. You're at their mercy, and you're gonna get clowned at. And like everyone's favorite, defender, Drew Holiday, LaMelo goes out of his way to embarrass that dude
every time.
Like you can tell, like he's playing a different game than y'all. He's not playing the I want to be the most efficient guy in the league. Like he doesn't care about that game, what y'all talking about. He wants to take your favorite guy and isolate him and show you like that this dude can't guard me. Like I'm going at this dude right now. Like, and this is what y'all claim y'all wanted, right? Last thing, this is like and we can segue into Draymond with this one. I mean, to Miles.
You said it right.
Yes, that's right. But like Draymond choking out Gobert after he put his hands on Clay, that's what y'all told me y'all wanted.
Yep.
That's what y'all told me that this league is missing right now. That they're all buddy and no one wants to compete anymore, right? And now you're gonna let a big man put his hands on a guard? Back in the 80s and 90s, you had players who their role was to come in and clobber that dude for doing that. And I thought this was what you guys wanted.
Yep.
What is it? But anyway, I got that soapbox, man. Look, let's go into Miles / Draymond.
Yeah, the floor is yours, brother. I'm gonna let you cook on this one first.
Well, I hear you keep comparing him to Draymond, and I'm a contrarian. I'm always going to try to poke holes in things. I'm trying to think like, what do you mean by that?
Okay.
And I do know what you mean by that. If I'm being like the Will Actually guy, I think Draymond's special because of his defense, of his IQ, and be able to do everything on defense. But that's irrelevant, because the point that I think you're talking about is on offense, when you try to double Steph and you kick it out to Draymond. Now he's going downhill, playing 3-on-2, and he's a problem because he's a playmaker. Right. And he punishes you for selling out to get the ball to Steph's hands. He punishes you. So when he does that, it forces you to allow Steph to do what he does. And so with Miles, you see that to where you have to play LaMelo honest, because if you try to play off of him, you now got this pit bull who is like Draymond's size, but has like a 40-inch vert, and he's shifty. He can bulldoze you, or he could shake you, or he could hit that three. So you have to round and respect him, and it gives the offense just another wrinkle that it adds another dimension. So you can't just key in and just like, hey, we're going to stop Miller right now. You have to look at other places right now.
To me, him and Brandon Miller are vying for the second best passer on the team. I think Miles Bridges is the second best natural passer on the team. There have been some passes that he's made these 4 games where he's been back, and I stand by my theory. Once Steve Clifford realizes, okay, I'm playing with this Ishmael thing, you know what I'm saying? Like, I might be better utilized stacking those minutes between Melo and Miles and just bringing Miles back in with that second unit and Bryce McGowan as the 2. Because I think Miles can play point forward, but he has to understand his role in that. when I talk about Draymond Green, first off, I'm gonna be open and honest. I don't rate Draymond the way that other people do, and I don't really believe in Draymond. I think Draymond was a necessary evil for the NBA to create parity against LeBron James. And I think he played on a team full of finesse. And if they didn't have Draymond, then that Golden State monster is not as scary as it was. You know what I'm saying? I just think that's what it is. I think Miles is what Draymond really was supposed to be if you utilize him the right way. But I do respect the pageantry of the NBA. I do respect that roles are needed. And what Miles has to understand, that role has been needed on every championship team, for the last 20 years? Chicago Bulls, before they had Dennis Rodman, Horace Grant kind of was in that role. They wanted him to be in that role. He never really would be that, him and Jordan Class, so he ended up getting out of there. They replaced him with Dennis Rodman, who was the quintessential bulldog of that team, unpredictable in his personality, but on the floor, diving for loose balls, great defender. Sometimes he can sneak up and be a facilitator on a pick and roll situation with him and Scottie Pippen. I can go down the list of these teams that have had this type of player. To me, LeBron has never really had that type of player. That's one of the things that has been lacking in his resume. But for the Charlotte Hornets, Miles has to embrace the fact that I can probably go get 25 tonight. But everything else that I have to do is more important because we don't have the things that we need on this roster, and LaMelo can't do it by himself. If Miles continues to focus on, because everyone's talking about the big shots he's been hitting in clutch, which Draymond did used to do if you double down on Steph or Clay, his rebounding has been even more important. Because Mark Williams and Nick Richards, for whatever reason, they come and go when it comes to rebounding. PJ, who, when you look at his body type and you understand he's a tweener, you would say, okay, this is a hard hat and pale carrying guy that's going to attack the boards every night. He's going to be scrappy. And that's just not who PJ Washington is. There's his
name's PJ. He ain't no hardworking blue. Like
he ain't no blue collar guy. You know what I'm saying?
He's not. Man.
I don't want to hear nothing about development. We know what PJ is. That's who he is. It's cool. Miles has come back, and I can tell Miles is taking defense as a challenge, because for everyone to be talking about what Gordon did in the second half, it lets me know you didn't watch film against Boston. They were sending help every time, and the one stop he had was a challenge that was overturned. But every time he was isolated with Jason Tatum, Steve Clifford did the right thing, sent help. Miles was out there battling Jaylen Brown, a guy that had dunked on him and embarrassed him the last time he saw him in Charlotte, which was year 2 of the LaMelo Ball experience. He took Jaylen Brown out of that game. Even against the Knicks in the second half against Julius Randle, he took it personally. He's rebounding the basketball with authority. All rebounds are not created equal. When you got a guy that's skying over you, snatching it, packing board, you know what I'm saying, kicking it out with authority, it makes you think, okay, it's some wood down there in the paint. It's going to be some muscle flying. So now he's taking on that role as enforcer. Now they just got to figure out the final piece, which is you have the right mindset, you're buying in, you're playing defensively, you're rebounding. Now, Miles, instead of you having 34, we need you to get Brandon Miller 34 with LaMelo in on the court. We need about 18 from you. We need 18, 8, and 11. If you can give us that, now you have a home on the Charlotte Hornets forever. You etch your place in history. Draymond Green, bro, like nobody is going to kid me, bro. When you look at the numbers, that guy is not no damn Hall of Famer. He's just not. But when you look at his role on that team and what the Golden State Warriors needed, it's not even questioned, because he has etched himself a part of the Golden State lore. And so many guys are in the Hall of Fame right now because they were on great teams and they sacrificed and they took that role. For Miles to redeem himself in the NBA, that's his only shot. Because if he's thinking he's going to any franchise and being the face of the franchise, Michael, it ain't happening.
See, that's the conundrum he's in right now. And I can see he's on this like PR trip right now to where cut your hair. So you don't have braids, you don't have any like type of dreadlocks, right? You clean that up. He's talking the refs respectfully, right? He's focusing on the team, he's focusing on defense, right? Because that's what's gonna get people on the side. Him trying to be the look at me guy, and be the flashy scorer, and I'm trying to do this whatever. It's like people are gonna like it. So like you can tell he feels he has to be on his best behavior right now, and he is buying into that defense and buying into that role, and he is in a tough spot because like even if he balls out, another team you can't offer that dude the max.
Right.
With the perception that he has right there. It just you can't sell it to fans like that.
Right.
The Hornets can kind of get over it because their fans they could sell themselves on it now, but like a new fan base who spent this, they're right now getting their jokes off and dragging him. You can't take that back once it's on your team, right? You've already kind of locked in that type of mentality.
Yep.
And so, but anyways, like he is that presence, and like you said, that they're just not pretty equal. Having a dude who can barrel in there and throw his weight around, you start to pay attention to that, right? Especially like if I'm on defense and I'm looking at LaMelo with the ball right now, and then when he shoots it, something's coming out of my blind side and hitting me like on the rebound. Like at some point, it starts messing with your brain. Like I'll do that on purpose all the time when I play because I was a big dude like that, and so I would run through a few screens early on. I'll take a few fouls, run into your back on a rebound because I wanted you nervous on like the box out, thinking where I'm at. And then when you flinch up, that's where I'm gonna make a move around you, right? But you have to start that game early, get them worried about that presence. And someone like Miles, who's so fast and powerful, that if he has an angle on you and he's allowed to put the wood on you, like you start to feel that, and it starts to affect the way you're looking at things. And now all of a sudden, Mark's life is easier because they're not just focused on keeping him out the paint. They're worried about where's that monster at? Where's Miles at?
Right.
And this is why you have to get Gordon out of there right now. This is why it's so egregious. And I think I was wrong. Miles was a silver bullet. Because you drop him in and you instantly see how the team is supposed to work. And if you have that fire and ice that I'm describing with LaMelo, Silky, he's a problem. You don't want to deal with him. So you have to focus on what he's doing, like cerebrally, mentally, he has your brain right there. And then you have Miles who can punish you, and it hurts, right? You got to worry about that, right? So now your mind's occupied with those two people. But now when that third option is, now we're just going to run some simple action to get Gordon the ball in a spot so he can pivot around and slow it down. Like as a defender, I'm comfortable with that. That's a vacation for me, right? And you called us out a few games ago. Delete Gordon from that and put in Miller getting those actions. And now he's coming off catching and he's making plays on the catch. He's catching and shooting, catching and driving, catching and swinging it, right? Like you're already worried about Miles and LaMelo. They're already in your head. And now you put in Miles and he can leverage. I mean, you put Miller and it leverages that. And it makes it it makes it even harder to like heal those people, right? And now the offense makes sense and you have some continuity. But you have Gordon in there, and it's so inorganic right now that it's gumming everything up.
Man, this is something I've been trying to stay away from, bro. Somebody did a short from Spaces the other night, and I was talking about the cream rising to the top. That is an owner and a GM's wet dream, bro. They literally have the buildings of an organic championship team, even with Mark Williams, bro. If Mark Williams buys in and the numbers are right in the next 2 years, like, bro, in order to be a dominant dynasty championship level team, you need two great guys, right? You need two great guys. You got to have them, unquestionable great. But to be a team that can be historical, you need that third. You just need that third. And a lot of guys got to spend money in free agency. They got to give up assets to get them. But somehow the Charlotte Hornets and Mitch Kupchak, as much flack as he's gotten, he deserves a lot of credit for tuning out the noise and saying, I know what I see in Scoot. I know what I see in Brandon Miller. I'm going to bring my franchise guy in here to the workout to get an okay on this Brandon Miller kid and trusting his fortitude and doing it. Because when you add Brandon Miller to the Miles Bridges and LaMelo Ball experience, it gives you something that no other team in basketball has, which is 3 skillful, dominant, not equally effective, but on any given night, equally effective skill sets that do not take away from the others. Mm-hmm. Brandon Miller is like a silent assassin alongside 2 budding stars and superstar, with the potential in the next 2 to 3 years to be a superstar himself. No other team has that. When you look at Minnesota, I got to use some examples. When you look at Minnesota, right, you say, okay, Anthony Edwards on his way up, undeniably. Karl Anthony Towns on his way down. If he's not on his way down, which I think is a bit harsh, he's leveled out. With playing with Anthony Edwards, he can only play a certain style. He's been reduced to 5-out, 3-point shooting big who can sometimes take you inside if he gets the ball. All right, those are 2 below all-star level with Karl Anthony Towns, because it's going to be hard for him these next couple of years to make it, and superstar level with Anthony Edwards. Their third guy right now is not Rudy Gobert. Their third guy is Jaden McDaniels. So you ask yourself, when you look at Jaden McDaniels, is he a superstar? Hell no. Is he a star? No. He's a piece. He's a piece that plays an effective role on a team. So that's their core. You look at Orlando, as great as they are, the only 2 guys that are truly special are Franz Wagner and Paolo Banchero. The problem with those guys, they're very similar in the way they score the basketball. So now, when you get to the playoffs, you're going to say, we got to go with the hot hand. Well, that doesn't usually work out for young cores. They don't have a true point guard that is a maestro that can sense, okay, I need to get him going. I need to get that guy going. So eventually, it's cute now. It's a great story. Somebody's going to end up being a trade asset. That's just the bottom line. You look at all of these cores in basketball, and the only core you can think that really resembles, in theory, what they're doing in Charlotte is Phoenix. The problem with Phoenix, they're all aging. Devin Booker's the youngest one. Bradley Beal's back may not allow him to play one possession in basketball this year. And how long are you going to get that, KD? What the Charlotte Hornets have, if they do not mess this up, will be the blueprint for the league going forward. This is what they want. They want organic, drafted big threes. They don't want the players are in Cancun in the summertime, finding a way to manipulate the situation where they get these dominant teams. Mike, you're a genius, bro. The floodgates are going to open.
You want to hear something blasphemous I thought about?
What was that?
So I'm thinking about Brandon Miller and being that second or third piece and how he scores, and he doesn't take away from the other guys.
Yeah.
And it made me think about Clay and why Clay is so good, because you have the laser focus is going to be on Steph. The defense focus on Steph and him running around. But you also have to worry about Clay, who's the ultimate catch and shoot dude. Just with a sliver of room, he's shooting that thing right away. And he's a problem. Like, he hits him like it's nothing, right? And so because of that, he also had to respect him a lot, and you have to close him out. But he really has no like mid-range game that he ever developed. And really, he was never that great at getting to the rim. So he was really just a catch and shoot dude, pass, relocate. Like, I'm reducing him down a lot, but that's really what he made him like lethal like that, right? With Miller, he hasn't proven to be as good as a catch and shooter but he shoots it right away. So his catch and shoot is lightning quick. And I think if he gets a little more lift on his shot, I think it's going to change a lot. But if that comes around, he's going to be elite catch and shoot guy off the rip. But he can also put it on the ground and create and get into the mid range, get into a pick and roll. He can be a secondary playmaker, right? Clay is never that. So I'm just like,
Right.
man, he can be an upgrade on Klay Thompson. And then it got me thinking about how this conversation started. Draymond came up. And on offense, no question, Miles blows Draymond out the water. He does everything Draymond does on offense. And like you said, on steroids. It's like you're souping that thing up right now, right? It's Draymond with a handle, right? Draymond explosive.
Right. Oh,
same strength, but like elite explosive type stuff, right? So then I'm thinking like, damn, so then now it goes back full circle to Steph and LaMelo. And he's not as good a shooter as Steph, but you think about as dangerous as LaMelo is on the ball, he's more dangerous on the ball than Steph is. He's more dynamic than he's taller than him. And so I'm like, man, you do have a core right now, which is the evolution of that Warriors core that changed the game. And so to your point, the owners need to see that. And I would be like, you know what? I tried to get Gordon going, try to shop him. It's not going to happen. I'm done with it. Let's just cut our losses and move on because he's holding back what's real right here. We need to figure out a way to get Miles going, to clean his image up. So I'm sure they're working on that. And this is a conspiratorial right here, but does the owners there have any juice? Because they could be keeping the legal pressure on to keep people away from him, right?
Of course.
And then
because it could be a lot worse, of course.
But okay, let's just say that conspiracy is real on that because of the off the court stuff. He's severely underpaid, and he has to take like a 3 or 4 year deal, and that sets up what happened with the Warriors, where because of Steph's health concerns, he signed a guaranteed deal for way less his market value right before he blew up and became, Hall of Fame Steph, right? So they had Hall of Fame Steph basically on a bargain, and that gave them the room once the cap spiked to bring in Durant. Right. And so I'm just like, man, why don't we just like, you know what? Let's take the L on Gordon. He's off there. Give that money, give it to Miles coming back, and let's focus on this core. This core is real right here. Right. And let's stop wasting our time with this. Bryce is saying he's good enough. Talk to me about Nick Smith Jr. I'm not there with him, but I hear you, and I hear a lot of people talking about how he looks undeniable. So talk about where he's at.
Nick Smith Jr. I hope they don't make the mistake of ever developing him to be in the starting lineup, because that's too much. He is right now a 15-point a night, 20-point a night guy in the NBA. Doesn't matter what coverages, doesn't matter what defense. He may be a better scorer right now than Brandon Miller. And it's because of the mentality. It's not because of the tools. It's the mentality. It's just some guys. And when I played high school basketball, AAU basketball, college basketball, it was just always one guy in my conference, maybe sometimes on my team, where I would play him and I'd be like, you really not like that. But he would just drop buckets. You know what I'm saying? And Nick Smith Jr. is a guy that just drops buckets, and it's in its purest form. So really, we getting decadent here now. They really already have their 6-man off the bench score. The real question is going to be James Bouknight or Bryce McGowan. And what Bryce has to continue to do to fend off James Bouknight, and the reason why I'm on some insider type tip, I think James Bouknight has the edge, and this is why they're marginalizing Nick Smith Jr. They know James is willing to take a lesser bag to stay with LaMelo. They know he'll take minimum to stay with LaMelo. And that's what you need to do to keep this cap down. You know what I'm saying? If James comes back and he averages 10 points a game, playing great defense, 35 to 36% from the three-point line, there will be a small market for James because people are going to be looking at Malik Monk and they're going to say, okay, well, Malik Monk wasn't lights out when he was there. He showed flashes. He had athleticism. They're going to see the same thing with James Bouknight. Is James Bouknight going to get some big offer? No, but he will have offers. If James decides, okay, I'll take less to stay with LaMelo, Bryce McGowan's gone. Because to me, Bryce has enough potential and size within this offense. He's going to trick someone in a couple of years because there's going to be so much attention on those other two dynamic scorers when it comes to the exterior, when it comes to Brandon Miller and LaMelo. Bryce is going to be catching and shooting. And eventually people are going to realize Bryce got some height. Got some hops. So Bryce is going to start getting to the rack and dunking. He's going to start laying it up a little bit. And people are going to be like, yo, this guy has the potential to be, a starter on a rebuild. That's a problem. The Nick Smith Jr., the James Bouknight, and the Bryce McGowan is a problem we have to watch. Also, the Nick Richards and the Mark Williams thing is one to watch. But these are all great problems to have, Mike. And we're talking about the Charlotte Hornets, bro. They've never had these problems. Maybe Mitch has been an evil genius the whole time. Mitch has always said, we're not going to build through free agency. This summer, he finally came out and said,
what you're saying about Bouknight makes me nervous. Because, number one, they already renounced his rights for next year. So that tells you what they think about him.
Yeah.
Two, the fact that he'd be willing to take less to stay somewhere, that mentality scares me. Like there's this, I can't remember if this is a movie or a real scout or a joke, but they're talking about you got to look at a quarterback's girlfriend before you draft him, right? If you have the other girlfriend, I'm not drafting that dude, right? Yeah, so like it's a joke, but like you understand exactly what they're talking about, right? Like, is he that dude? Is he thinking of himself of that dude, or is he just I'm just one of the guys? I just want to fit and play a role. To be honest, that's not Bouknight to me. He's not a one of the guys type of player. That's not his game. He is a feature player. You have to give him license to create, man. He's not a person who's going to come in and slot and play a role. He's not that guy. And if he's willing to take less, that means in his mind he's less. And he's not worth more than that. And I would rather see him be like, no, man, I got to go on my own and prove to everybody else and to myself that I'm still him.
I have had this same conversation in Greensboro, North Carolina, after the game. You have to understand, man. Like, and let's just go there, bro. We've had this conversation off record. Let's have it on record. No one else is having this conversation because they're afraid to do it. You have to understand what LaMelo Ball is to them. We're not understanding this. What LaMelo is to this generation. If Bouknight was willing to do that with Trae Young, get this guy out of here. If he's willing to do that with Cade Cunningham, and a lot of guys on Detroit are willing to do that for Cade Cunningham, I'm worried. This is LaMelo, bro. And they see the LaMelo that is hitting 33-pointers in a row in practice. They see the LaMelo that is growing from this to having commercials where he's predicting what he's doing now. When that commercial first aired at the beginning of the season, the only commercial for an NBA athlete that is a solo commercial for a shoe deal, it sounded silly. He knows how to break down the defense and X-ray vision and all that. They got all the little kids. Now you look at that commercial and you look at how he's playing, and the myth only grows. So if you're James Bouknight, you say to yourself, and this is what Miles did, because what people aren't talking about is this. Miles did not just accept this role. Year two, there was a lot of your turn, my turn between LaMelo. There were times where LaMelo and Miles late in the season were arguing on the court, bro. You know what I'm saying? But what these guys are figuring out is, okay, we have a tsunami level talent on our team. And this league is a lot harder than people put on to actually be a star. It's a lot it's a lot more about selection than actual talent. So if you're booked now, you're saying, yeah, I'll take that money right now. But once we become a playoff team, I'm an intricate piece. I could be Andre Iguodala. I could be a guy that always has a home in Charlotte. I can make that short-term money, long-term money. If Book Knight plays the free agency market and a team takes a chance on him with all the young talent in the league, who's to say he actually gets on the court? People were very high on Jalen McDaniels before he left Charlotte. I heard a lot of Charlotte Hornets fans talking about he's a 3-and-D, he's making plays, he's young, he's athletic, he was rated higher than his brother. He's in Toronto fighting to get on the court. This league is too young. It's too much talent to bank on that. Whoever's the 2 guard for the Hornets, they have to understand, unless they slide Brandon to the 2, you're not going to be the guy. That's never going to be your role. There's too much dynamic young talent on Charlotte for you to even think you're the guy. And thinking you're the guy is going to get you replaced once the coach gets in there that has a name and some cachet. And that's how you're going to end up with an Emmanuel Moody podcast 10 years from now. I was in Charlotte with the ability to drop 20. And then they told me, yeah, because you got LaMelo, you got Miles, and you got Brandon Miller. And low-key, Mark Williams is, like I was telling you yesterday, no matter what anyone thinks about Mark's numbers are going to be crazy low-key. As far as field goal percentage, he might average 15. Miles is there getting rebounds now. Hell, Mark might start getting 9, 10 a night. So everyone's going to get paid based off of this little nucleus. So I don't know.
So let's get into, we'll close with the roster construction. But so for next season, on the books, they're going to have LaMelo, Miller, PJ, Terry, Mark Williams, JT, Nick Richards, Cody Martin, Nick Smith Jr., Bryce McGowan, and Leaky Black. That's who they got. And we're assuming they're going to bring Miles back.
Yeah.
So is that the team? Or can they bring someone else in? Or what do they need?
I think Cody's injury is a lot more serious than the Hornets media let on. I think Cody's, and I'm not even talking about his talent or anything. I think Cody is floating into Lonzo Ball territory. You know what I'm saying? And it's unfortunate because I don't wish that on anyone. So Cody, I will put a question mark. That I think that is the team. I think they're going to bring in some veteran help because their owner is a basketball junkie, and he's going to want names that sound like names. You know what I'm saying? So somebody's going to be here and somebody's going to be gone. So I would imagine some veteran free agency names that have some NBA playoff minutes logged under their belt. They'll be on the team, 1 or 2. And I think you should pay attention to the name Leaky Black. I think Leaky Black is going to be a guy that breaks into the rotation defensively. Because even what I saw at a small sample size against the New York Knicks is what he was able to do at North Carolina, which is just to be a pest. And like I said, when you're a small market team and you got to pay all these guys, you're not going to have the money to go get the quintessential 3-and-D. But it's better to start a system where now you're able to tell guys, because you got your marquee guys set. This is the standard. And this is what makes Miles so brilliant. It does almost kind of feel like villainous because he is doing everything so perfect. You know what I'm saying? Like playing the media, the things he's saying every game. LaMelo's the franchise guy. Like he's getting his Draymond Green on. You know what I mean? The other guys are going to start realizing, oh, that's how I keep a job. So when you're able in Charlotte to go to a Leaky Black and say, hey, man, you're never going to be a 30-point-a-night scorer, that's not what we need from you. But if you can be a guy that we bring off the bench to guard the best players in the league and just to make it difficult for them night after night, a la Gary Payton Jr., Eldorado, right? New Orleans?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hold up. Do you think, like everything you just said about Miles, about him getting behind LaMelo and getting on board and that have a trickle effect at everyone else? Do you think Gordon is on that train?
Nah.
And if he's not, that's a problem. I think it's to the point where I tell him we're paying you to stay away. We're gonna see if the team wants you, but you don't need to practice anymore with the team. You don't need to travel anymore. Because you're number one, you're in the way of the dynamics because you still think that he's still looking LaMelo off at times. Where I'm just kind of like, man, there's an easy play to make, and you're like, it's almost like he's trying to make it clear that like I'm not on your program right now. Anyway, that's I digress with that. But I think it's to the point, and if I'm Clifford, I'm like, my job is on the line right now. I'm gonna lose my job behind it. If I play Hayward like they're telling me to, I'm gonna lose my job. So, and if I don't play, I'm gonna lose my job. Either way, I'm gonna lose my job right now. So I'm just not gonna go down with the ship with Hayward. That's what if I was saying, that's what I'd be like. And you do that, and I want to see Leaky Black. What can he do? Because this team needs a wing defender. Honestly, like I am worried about Cody because it does feel like there's something serious going on. Because there's this, we should have heard by now what's going on. And you have a healthy Cody. People might this is controversial, but if you just replace Gordon with a healthy Cody, the team improves. Gordon's become that bad. He's become a liability. And so it's like, if he's not helping us win and he's actually helping us lose right now, let's stop messing around with this and let's start building. Let's see what we got right now. What is Next Jr.? What does he have in him? Does Bryce have more in him, right? You can't do that until you start taking some of those shots and those minutes away from Gordon Hayward. He's taken away from you at this point. And we're here. I think it's here. It's becoming toxic. And he has to be feeling the heat now because, again, the players see this stuff. They see the log jam. They see why is this dude still in rotation right now? It's starting to get that bad.
Yeah. I don't think Steve Clifford has the power to do that. I think he would be fired if he did that because Gordon's agent is just that powerful. And a lot of this stuff is relations in the league because I do think the new owners have intentions to bring other adequate free agents in. I would not be surprised. You're saying Cody, and I think Cody's situation is that serious. I think the Hornets are going to kick the tires on OG Anunoby. I think they're going to kick the tires on OG Anunoby. I think that's going to happen. I think you're going to see a situation where potentially OG Anunoby or Gary Trent Jr. could potentially end up in Charlotte. I think there's a situation where Terry will be out the door. And I am starting to think that's why I said Gordon's going to tap out.
So hold on. So you threw it out there. So what does this look like? They're going to max out OG because OG, he turned down $30 million from the Raptors. So he clearly wants more than that. So you're going to have to max him out. So the Hornets, they could get him, but they'd be in the luxury tax. But then they have Miles' bird right, so they can still sign him and go higher. Yeah. You see the owners doing that, bringing in OG, and
I don't think OG is going to get anywhere near no damn max because if the market was that hot for him, they would have already traded for him. I think OG is about to learn a lesson that a lot of young players are making. You bring up a good point with the luxury tax, and I'm not going down that hill. I think you can get a lesser version of an OG Anunoby with better scoring with a Gary Trent Jr. My point is, I think they'll bring Toronto as a team that is looking to make moves, and I think with the team that is dying, that light is dying, and they need new light. I think it's going to be players that are available that can, if it starts getting to the point in these next 4 games where it's obvious that the Charlotte Hornets have a real chance at a play-in spot or a playoff spot, I think you're going to have so much pressure from national media because it's starting to happen. Because a transition is happening in media where national old media is starting to transition to YouTube, the Stephen A. Smiths, the Shannon Sharps. So now they're having to see the interactions for LaMelo Ball. And that's why Shannon Sharp had to ask the baby that question. So now it's going to be, okay, LaMelo's going out. And I'm seeing this comment every night. He's just in a terrible organization with terrible teammates. So eventually they're going to have to make a move. I think Gordon Hayward is going to tap out, 1, because he's uncomfortable, 2, he's being exposed, and 3, the locker room is going to start demanding, hey, we got to get Brandon Miller more touches. With that being said, if Cody's not there to replace him right now, people are saying Bryce is not ready for winning basketball night after night. His body is not ready for that. You can't play Bryce McGowan. If you're a serious playoff contender or playing contender, 35, 37 minutes a night and tell him to go lock somebody down.
So challenge on that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I think there's truth to what you're saying. He's not ready to play winning basketball. Gordon Hayward's not capable anymore of playing winning basketball.
Of course.
So we lose nothing. So we lose nothing.
Of course. I'm not saying losing. So I'm saying if the pressure gets on the Hornets ownership to gain something, I think you would like to see Bryce coming in with that second unit right now.
So if we want to be real about this, let's take a step back and what we talked about with how LaMelo's playing.
Yeah,
he is playing at a all NBA level right now, no cap. Like that's indisputable.
Right.
Let's put up Miles, who honestly to me he still looks a little bit heavy. I don't think he's back to 100% shape yet. He's getting close, so you can see a difference from when he started to where he is now. He's getting close to it. But you're talking about an all-star caliber, a max level type player, right, on this team. So you don't want to go on a luxury tax for a team that's not competitive or not a contender.
Yeah.
Okay. This is why you can't afford to play around with Gordon Hayward anymore, because you need to see now what we have. I need to see now, is LaMelo real? Is he really that guy? Because if he is that guy, and Miles is a max caliber player who is going to get substantially less than that, and then you're talking about, do I want to pay? I don't know. I think it's going to be over $30 million for OG. You add him to that team.
Yeah.
You are a contender next year in the East. It sounds crazy, but when you put the pieces together like that,
right,
talent for talent, and it's clicking like that, it becomes worth it. Because you have a legit big three, and it also assumes that Miller ascends into that next role as that scorer we think he is. If those pieces fit together and you add OG to that, it's a fundamentally different team right there. And it is at that point, as an owner, it is worth it.
Well, I like to shift gears from OG because old media is almost sold on the idea that Zach LaVine is going to be in Charlotte. I didn't get your take on it. What do you think about that?
On LaVine?
Yeah.
It's terrible. It's one of the worst ideas I ever heard. It would be something Charlotte would do to where they can't get out of their own way. Like if we're being real, Gordon has held back LaMelo negatively. Like if Gordon's not on this team and they actually just went with LaMelo, starting this from year 2, we're looking at a different picture right here. But because they had sunk money in Gordon, they don't want to waste it. They kept trying to, like, when he's healthy, okay, let's feature Gordon, let's feature Gordon, and it's always taken away. And it's insane to me that this dude is making that much money. Yeah. And you never hear about it. And you never hear about how he's never healthy, he never delivers anything. It's always on LaMelo, and he's the guy on the max money. Right. You never hear about people talking about his percentages. Right. And he's making that type of money. That's why I made that tweet yesterday where it's like, yo, like the stuff y'all claim to care about. Right. The efficiency and the turnovers. Where are we at? And we keep getting back to Gordon. But it's hard to get around him because he's holding everything back. And as an organization, I guess the point of Gordon is you have real decisions to make right now. Yeah. And he is not a factor anymore. So stop wasting time and team resources on this guy and actually see about Leaky Black. Because he probably is not that far away.
Mike, I'm gonna be honest. I hate the idea the same way you do, but I'm just gonna keep it real. In theory, if Zach LaVine is locked in and he comes to Charlotte is a top 4 talent in the East team. And what they have to be thinking in theory is Lonzo and Zach LaVine were the #1 seed in basketball before Lonzo got hurt. Lonzo, I don't care how we can play with these injuries and all UCLA. So, bro, Lonzo was never the player that LaMelo is, bro. People really undersell what LaMelo is. You put that with Zach LaVine, who was locked in, and you roll out a lineup of LaMelo Ball, Zach LaVine, Miles Bridges, hell, just say PJ Washington and Mark Williams. Bro, that is a playoff team this year. Right now, sitting at 5-9. The problem I have with it is it's going to affect the natural development of Brandon Miller. And I'm not a short-term thinking guy when you have something this great. Short-term, it's going to be pressure, bro. It's going to be pressure because everything that was a weakness in Chicago, which is, damn, Lonzo, tonight I need you to go get it. And you got to be more than just a spot-up shooter. LaVine is struggling tonight. You know what I'm saying? I need you to be the guy. Lonzo's just not that guy. You know what I'm saying? LaMelo is. Where they were always interchangeable. Bro, they had Javonte Green playing power forward and center some nights for that team. People don't remember because Vucevic was in and out the lineup to start up the season. So you got guys that are small forward journeymen playing center. You got Mark Williams playing center, Nick Richards off the bench. And then you remove DeMar DeRozan, who made LaVine's game very stagnant. Sometimes they're like the Spider-Man meme. And you throw in a Miles Bridges that's not going to allow LaVine to come in there and just take all the shots away from LaMelo because he's the neutralizer. Bro, that team, as much as I hate the idea because of the natural growth of the big three, dog, who want to see that team in the East?
So here's what I'm thinking about, and why I'm not moved.
Oh, the money. It's money. I feel it.
What does LaVine bring that Terry Rozier doesn't do? Right. Okay. And I'm not gonna say they're the same player. I'll readily admit that LaVine is comfortably the better player than Rozier. But the question is by how much? And is he at 8 points a game better scorer than Rozier? At 10 points, let's say it's 10 points. Okay. Is that 10 points worth $20 million in cap space? What does that change with the team fundamentally?
Okay, fundamentally, it gives you the longest backcourt in the East. It gives you a potential.
Wait, LaVine is long?
He's 6'7".
No, Zach LaVine's like 6'4", I thought.
What the hell he ain't, Mike? What are you talking about? He's 6'7". Yeah, he's a monster upgrade over Terry. He makes you dynamic.
He's 6'5".
Okay, 6'5". 6'5", really, I think he's about 6'6". 6'5", 6'6". He's long. He's rangy. He can run the floor. He's athletic. And now you have a defensive lineup with LaMelo Ball, Zach LaVine, Miles Bridges, Brandon Miller, and Mark Williams. The switchability on that lineup from 1 through 4, because even though Steve Clifford don't want him, LaMelo to the point, I'm switching. You know what I'm saying? If he's on dog activity, I'm switching. So the switchability, to me, that saves Mark Williams this year. Because now you can run Mark like I've been saying you should run him. You can't do that with Terry and Gordon.
Can LaVine defend?
Huh?
Can Zach LaVine defend?
Yeah, we've seen him defend. Yeah, he can defend.
Because the thing that I don't like about comparing Lonzo and LaMelo is, yes, Lonzo's not the creator that LaMelo is, but that's not his role. That's LaVine's role. But on defense, him and Caruso mask a lot of the stuff that LaVine gives up. And so their defense and their Lonzo's ability to catch and shoot threes allows LaVine to focus on his strengths and minimize his weaknesses. But on the Hornets, that ball creation, you already have that with LaMelo, and you off that, you got Miles who can do that, you got Miller on that. Why are we bringing in an outside contractor? We don't need that.
This is the myth of the Chicago experiment. If you look at why Chicago brought Lonzo in, they brought Lonzo in to be a creator, so LaVine can be all ball more, so that LaVine can be that break you down guy once he's kicked. Because LaVine is a great 3-point shooter. Lonzo's just not that. So once they realized that after preseason, you know, DeMar DeRozan and Levine, they saw, okay, this guy don't want the ball. So what a scorer is going to do? That's what I'm saying. It's so important to have Miles, because Miles is the guy, bro. Levine ain't coming in there running shit with Miles in that locker room. First off, Levine ain't built like that. That's one. Second off, people don't understand how fiery LaMelo is as well. LaMelo is just not really a guy that's going to be like, okay, Levine's coming in. We're all sitting to the side. If Levine comes into this team, the only way I see the scenario happening is if he realizes it's his best chance to actually have a legacy. Because going out to LA, you're going to be third fiddle to LeBron in them. That's just the bottom line. And to me, guys like Paul George and guys like Zach LaVine don't want the pressure of playing with LeBron James. That's why they have memes and videos out where people are like, okay, this player before the Lakers, this player after the Lakers, because the spotlight of playing with LeBron and being used to having to break down triple teams, and now you're wide open. And not only are you wide open, it's 3 seconds on the clock, and the Lakers need you to hit this shot to get up one game on Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets. That's a different level of pressure. If LaVine fails in that role, he's finished. He's forever just the guy. If he goes to Charlotte with, like I said, these guys know LaMelo's coming, with a core of LaMelo, Miles, Brandon Miller. Hold on, before I say that though, my sneaky fear though, you know what I'm thinking?
No, I asked an idea. Go ahead.
I'm thinking the only way Chicago would work on that is if you give up Brandon Miller. If I'm Chicago, there's no way. There's no way.
They're stuck. They got no buyers for him because his contract is bad, Rev. It's bad.
It's like that.
Yeah, he has. You have to pay him for 4 more years, $45 million a year. Like he's on major money, right? So what got me thinking though? That's why I said, "Ooh, who'd you rather have, Zach LaVine or Jeremy Grant?"
Zach.
For real? For the Hornets?
Yeah, I ain't a Jeremy Grant guy at all. Everything you think about Zach LaVine is what I think about Jeremy Grant.
Think about what got Jeremy Grant the bag.
Okay.
What was his role in Denver?
True. Yeah, true. Souped up ego dog.
Yes, and if we're in agreement that right. LaMelo, Miles, and Miller, that's your big three.
Yeah.
What does Zach LaVine do for them? That's the conversation about that. That's the conversation I'm focused on. How do we support them?
What he does for them is right now the Hornets are doing a 1-star on the court at all times, 2-star on the court when we have a luxury, which means Miles Bridges and Brandon Miller are playing a lot of minutes together. If Miles comes off the bench or he's starting, that combination, although enticing right now, is nowhere near good enough to compete with the teams that are coming up on the schedule. If Zach LaVine comes in, you legit are doing what the NBA is moving to, which is having 2 dynamic guys on the court at all times. Also, on nights where LaMelo just don't have it, I am not quite ready to say on nights where LaMelo just doesn't have it, I trust Miles enough to carry the team with a 35-point game when we actually beat a good team. I have seen LaVine against every team in the league, no matter who on the court, give me close to 50 and win a game. The Hornets don't have that other guy right now. Right now. Can Brandon Miller be that? Hell yeah. Is he there in year 1? Nah, he's not going to be there because his body ain't strong enough. He still can't get to the rack when he needs to get to the rack, when that shot just ain't falling. Right now, this is a right now move, Mike. I can't. It's just a right now move.
But even for the right now, I would much rather an OG. I'd much rather I'd much rather a Kyle Kuzma.
The Kyle Kuzma thing. See, we was having this conversation last night. Kyle Kuzma is skilled as hell. He doesn't. What does he do for you? He doesn't make you serious. Kyle Kuzma makes you.
Think about Kuzma for the Lakers. It's the same thing with Jeremy Grant. You were talking about the dude who got a bag off of that performance, okay?
Right.
Kuzma makes winning plays, man. He gets big time rebounds. He cuts off the ball. He hits threes. He switchable on defense. Like, he's a great third and fourth guy. And even inside now, he's gotten better. He can create a little bit and pass a little bit.
Kuzma, man, but Kuzma's just he's a round the league guy now, bro. And eventually, year 8, year 9, he'll be on a contender. You know what I'm saying? When he wants to get serious. I don't want to mix Kuzma in a Charlotte locker room.
Hold up. Okay, the locker room, that's a different discussion. I can't go into that. But replace Terry Rozier with Kyle Kuzma.
Oh, yeah, of course.
This ain't a different team?
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't look at Kuzma's not serious, bro. Kuzma's not serious.
He's a champion.
Kuzma, bro, but come on. Every champion ain't created equal. Like, don't rookie me. Don't do me like that, bro. Every champion is not created equal. Brian Scalabrine on your team does not uplift your team.
Scalabrine is not in the same conversation as a Kyle Kuzma or a KCP. Those are different. Those are elite role players. They played a role on a championship team.
Kyle Kuzma ain't on the same level of a KCP.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was.
No. KCP had a role where he had to sacrifice. Kyle Kuzma was still asked to do what he does well, which is come in and score the basketball, bro. Like, KCP is scoring more now in Denver than he did with the Lakers because he's being asked to do more. I cannot ask Kyle Kuzma, who is running around with Jordan Poole right now, enjoying taking as many shots as he wants to come into a young court that's focused on winning now with the guy that he looked at as little bro and take a back seat. Nah, I can't see it happening. Jeremy Grant, everywhere he goes where it's young guys, he's a shot chuck. The problem is he's not skillful enough to be a shot chuck. Don't want him on the team. OG Anunoby, you got me there. That's the only guy on that list that I'm like, damn, OG fits seamlessly. But I hope OG is not thinking he ain't getting no goddamn 30 mil. That ain't happening. But
he already turned it down.
He can turn it down all day. Players do that all the time. OG Anunoby's not getting $30 million because OG Anunoby is not going to any team to be a scorer. Somewhere in his brain, he's thinking, I'm going somewhere to be a 20 to 25 point a game a night. No, you're going there to be a lockdown defender, hit open shots, and we need you to create a shot. But the Toronto system is so fake, bro, because they are born in this system, and a lot of times they die in this system because that system is tailor-made for OG Anunoby. OG Anunoby on another team is your boy from OKC, Lou Dort. They are the same player to me.
And you need those type of players.
You do. Not for $30 million.
All right, that's 2 hours. Let's put a pin in there for that one.
Yes,
but this is a great jumping off point. Next show, we're going to bring in Buffalo Soldier, but bring in Trey. Because this is a discussion we need to start having about what does this team need, the pieces out there. I'm talking myself into that Jeremy Grant because the Blazers are trying to rebuild. They paid him that big money thinking that to pair him with Dame. And once Dame left, didn't make sense no more, and they're kind of stuck with them. So maybe you could have thrown a Gordon Hayward and throw him a draft pick so they can get off that Jeremy Grant money, and maybe you get that. But anyway, that's a story for another day. But this is the conversation we need to have at the Purist Podcast. Reframe this conversation about the Hornets because what I'm watching and what I'm hearing about people talk about, it's not matching up, and I'm wondering what people are talking about. They're looking at the wrong things that I feel. So we need to get this conversation back on track to reality and not just pure narratives at this point.
Right. I agree, man. I think it was a great first episode, and it comes at the right time where, like you said, the cream is rising to the top, man. Like they've tried to suppress this kid. And really, they've tried to suppress the young talent on the Charlotte Hornets for a long time. Like, people were acting like Miles is not one of them dudes, or he's not a dude. Miles is a dude, bro. The Los Angeles Lakers, with the PR out of the window, they could use a Miles Bridges right now. You know, so yeah, man, great first episode. We look forward to catching up with you guys weekly.
All right. Peace.
Peace.